So this friend of mine had come down to India, and we were just sitting and chilling in our living room on this lazy Sunday afternoon. And my maid was busy cooking in the kitchen. And in some time, my friend probably felt hungry, so he entered the kitchen to fetch himself some food. And I heard this sound, which is a very Indian way of expressing disapproval. And I immediately knew that my maid was not liking him being in the kitchen. So I entered the kitchen and I kind of, grabbed his hand and I said, "Come on, my maid will serve food to us. Let's just wait outside." But this friend of mine is like this typical Britisher, and he's fiercely independent, and he was insistent on, helping himself. And I didn't know what to do in that moment. And in my spontaneity, I just said, "Are you crushing on my maid?" And we both bursted out laughing, and we walked out of the kitchen. And my son was also there, and he just had this very straight expression on his face. And he looked into my eyes and said, "That's not funny, Ma." And I was kind of taken aback by the sternness that I saw on his face. And he said, as I kept looking at him, he looked at me and said that, "What was so funny about this joke, Ma? Would you crack the same joke if it was your ma or your sister in the kitchen? I think that joke of yours was very classist, Mom." For a moment, I felt like, all the blood from my body had just gone cold, and I just stood there numb, not knowing how to react. And I just had this wish that, everybody should just disappear, and I just wanted to hide somewhere. And my entire life, I have stood up for anti-oppression, and I have always believed in, diversity and inclusion and treating everybody with respect and dignity. And somehow I could not deny the truth of what my son was saying. It's in that moment that I did meet not just the classist in me, but also possibly the casteist in me. And he was right. I wouldn't crack that joke if my mom was there in the kitchen. I don't know what was I thinking. Why did I think that if my friend has a crush on my maid, that's funny? Like, why did I think that way? And in some moment, as I mustered my courage, I was able to thank my son for his honest feedback and helping me, look at my own mirror. And, it's in that moment I just recognized that there is so much stuff about myself I do not know that I do not know. I have such a big blind area in my life around these different isms, whether it is classism, casteism, sexism, racism. And I was immediately reminded of the multiple groups that I facilitate. And in that moment, I felt like this deep empathy for so many of my participants when I have pointed out something to them. And I could instantly then connect to the possible shame that they felt. And I recognize that if all of us as human beings, I do have this faith that fundamentally we all believe in shared power, and we all believe in equality and fairness. And yet, because of socialization, we have so many blind areas. And the only possible way in which we can become more aware is by taking feedback. And I guess I've been pondering on this question that how do we make ourselves more open to receiving feedback? How do we prevent ourselves from getting defensive and looking at aspects of ourselves that we don't like?